Hey y'all, Nickie Brown here. No matter where you are and what part of the world you're in, I hope that you are having a good day. So I wanted to finish the conversation about narcissistic grandmothers and mothers. Um, I can't exactly remember where I left off, but my phone overheated, so I apologize. But basically, if you have a mom or a grandmother who's constantly yelling at you, and maybe I'll do fathers in a different topic, right? But I'm focusing on women because, again, it seems to be a stigma to talk about the woman who gave birth to you or her mother, right? In this society, it's like you're not supposed to say that, but you have to tell the truth about what you've been through in order to help you heal from it, right? So if you have that mother who's or grandmother who's constantly yelling, cursing you out, giving you the silent treatment, trying to control you, always criticizing you as if you can never do anything right or you don't know how to make good decisions, right? All of this is verbal, mental, and emotional abuse. And you have to call it what it is and not try to sugarcoat it or sweep it under the rug as if it doesn't exist and that this is not really happening and that it doesn't have an effect on your life, because it does. Not only does it have effect on your life, it also has effect on your relationships. Not just romantic relationships. It even has an effect on, say, your sibling relationships, because sometimes the mother will try to play the siblings against one another, so the siblings don't have a good relationship. Or even the children, the grandchildren. They'll even play your children against you and make it seem like you're the bad guy, while they play good cop and they're the good grandmother or great grandmother, when it's really not true. It's all manipulation. Um, and I know one of the things that I was saying. Oh, my nose ring. Sorry, had to fix my nose ring. Right? They're constantly trying to be competitive. They say things to hurt you, and they say it's not intentional. But when somebody constantly does the same thing over and over again, and then they apologize, but they still do the same thing over and over again, they're not taking accountability and responsibility for your actions. That's narcissism, right? It's no different than if you're in a relationship with a man or a woman who abuses you, right? Or who's very violent in some other way. And all they do is apologize, but they know what they're doing. Even if they do apologize, it's not like they do still know what they've done, right? It's no different just because this person is related to you or gave birth to you. And again, they try to make you feel guilty if you even try to speak up for yourself or set a boundary, and they make it seem like you're the bad guy. They'll undermine your authority, again, with you, with your children, whatever that looks like. They bully you, right? They can be very intimidating. They disregard your boundaries. Again, even if you say, I don't like this hurts my feelings. Oh, it hurt your feelings. You just trying to be funny, or you just don't want to listen to what I have to say, or something along those lines they'll say. And they're not willing to change. You're afraid to speak up and say anything to them about it, because you're afraid they'll belittle you or put you down, or again, just completely dismiss what you're saying. Hold on, y'all. Okay. And some of this information that I'm going to share with you now is coming from psychcentral.com. Dr. Leah Liss. She says that mothers with narcissistic tendencies tend to express certain qualities, right? Lack of empathy. Again, you may call them and ask them for advice. They're not going to empathize with you, right? They're going to turn the story around and make it about them, even if it's not related. Again, like I said earlier or in the previous video, I may call my grandmother to ask her advice about, say, dating, right? She'll completely dismiss what I said and say, oh, I don't know. But let me tell you what happened when I went to Walmart today. what just happened? I'm calling you because I have something on my heart and on my mind that I need to talk about. And you want to talk about something that happened at Walmart that doesn't have anything to do with anything and that I really don't care about. Just completely dismiss your concerns, right? Self-centeredness, again, they're good for turning the story around and making it about them, completely dismissing what you have to say, what your thoughts are, or anything of that nature. They're not interested in what you want to talk about, what you have to say, or what you're wanting to ask about. They would rather talk about what happened when they went to Walmart. Verbally aggressive, again, yelling at you, cursing you out, even calling names. Even as a little girl, they were calling me a bitch. And at a certain point in time, or calling me mean, or things like that, which were not true. And in my mind, in my heart, and I've even said it to both of them, I'm not mean. I'm not who you're saying that I am. But they would insist that I am, right? And then they would even tell other people the same thing, right? To make themselves look good and make me look like the bad guy again, right? As a little girl, how could I possibly be a bitch? What did I know about that? Because I was trying to set a boundary? Because I said I don't like this thing that you're doing or saying to me that makes me a bitch? No. I was setting a boundary, and at that point in time, I didn't know. And then after a while, when you hear somebody say the same thing to you repeatedly for years, sometimes you take on that persona. And you become what you're being accused of, whether it's intentional or unintentional, whether it's directly or indirectly. And this is how abuse from a narcissist can turn into you becoming a narcissist. And we all have narcissistic tendencies or traits, whether we realize that or not. But if you have 5 or more, that makes you a narcissist, right? A lack of insight of their own behavior and how it affects others. Again, completely dismissing. Oh, you don't really feel that way. I remember I told my grandmother since I was 4 years old, I knew that I had this calling to teach people how to love and how to treat people. Oh, you don't remember nothing when you was 4 years old. Like, how can you tell me that? How can you tell me what was on my mind? I experienced trauma at a young age. So I knew that it was wrong, and it always felt uncomfortable to me. Then I would have people gather around and they would want to hear me sing, right? So I knew that, in order to get people's attention, you have to entertain them. And by entertaining them, then I can get their attention and say what I really need to say to them, so that they treat people better. At that point, it was so that they treat children better, right? Because I was still a child. At this point, it's just treat other human beings with respect, with integrity, right? With love. Love thy neighbor as you would thyself. But then that's another thing I realized. Some people don't love themselves, and they don't even realize that. Another therapist, still from psych.com, psychcentral.com. They tend to treat their daughters in similar ways, according to Australian counselor Shagun Moria. The narcissistic tendencies might consist of shaming you. My mother used to call me a whore. I was never a whore. But anytime, because I liked my son's father, all of a sudden I was a whore because I liked boys. I was supposed to like boys at 16. Definitely jealous of you. They're jealous of you. My mom told me at a young age, I know before I was a teenager, when I had you, you stopped me from getting the things that I used to get from my parents. I don't get as much as I used to get now. Wow. Although she still to this day asks for money. My grandfather's deceased. But she was using his his check for money and not really taking care of him like she was supposed to. And I didn't like that at all. And yes, I'm calling her out on it. And no, I don't feel bad. And no, I'm not going to feel bad. Because I didn't like how she was treating my grandfather. And I knew that she was only doing it for the check. And I didn't think that that was right at all. Um, and I would sneak him and go see him on my own without her knowing, because she was trying to manipulate me and guilt me in that situation. And again, I didn't like it. They compare you with your siblings and your peers. That's the worst thing you can, one of the worst things you can do to somebody is compare them to somebody else, whether it's a sibling or a peer. They treat you as an extension of themselves. Again, she would say things, like call me things like a whore, or accuse me of things that she was doing or that she was guilty of. Become infuriated at any perceived threat to her superiority. So again, when you try to set boundaries, they don't like it. I remember one time, because I wasn't able to give my mom money to support her habit, she threatened to kick me down the stairs. And I said to her, if you kick me down these stairs, you're going to jail. Because I watched my grandmother and my mother fist fight one another, right? This is my maternal grandmother. I watched them fist fight one another and call each other bitches and all kinds of names growing up. And I would just stand there screaming, saying, stop doing that. That's very traumatizing. I was like, say from 9 to say 15. Even some of my other relatives, you go to the family barbecues, the 4th of July, Memorial Weekend, they're stabbing each other, cussing each other out, calling each other kind of thing. I have a very toxic family. And it got to a point where I didn't want to go to the barbecues anymore. I think I was probably 12 or 13 when I made that decision. And my grandmother was like, oh, you should come, it would be fun, because I think she's normalized this. And she's become desensitized to it over the years. Oh, it's going to be good. It's going to be fun. I don't even want to take the chance. I'm very sensitive. I don't like being yelled at. Although I do speak loud, because that's the environment that I came from. And it's not even intentional. And it wasn't until I started raising my son and he's pointed some of these things out to me that I even realized that I was doing some of the same things that my mother had done to me. So I had to take a step back and do a self-assessment and stop doing some of the things that I was doing. And I'm still a work in progress. My son and I have a much better relationship. Not that it was horrible, but again, I realized that I was doing some of the things that had been done to me, not realizing it. Right? They gaslight you, right? Again, tell you, oh, that's not true. They do or say something to you, oh, that's not how you remember. Like I told my grandmother, can you please listen to me? Again, I would call her, ask her for advice, and she would completely dismiss me. Oh, what are you talking about? I don't know what you mean. And ironically, during this healing process, I found an email 10 years prior when I was asking her to do the same thing. You know exactly what I mean. You're playing mind games with me. And I remember all the times that I asked her the same thing. Again, if you have somebody punch you in the eye and give you a black eye once a month, and they still keep doing the same thing over and over again and tell you, oh, I love you, I didn't mean to do it, yet they still continue to do it, that's a problem. And you don't have to be around people who constantly abuse you, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, verbally, financially. Again, even manipulating you with money. Oh, I'm going to give you this money so you can do what I want you to do, not out of the kindness of my heart. Right? That's a problem. Invalidating what you say. Giving you the guilt trip, right? Again, making you feel guilty because you're trying to even set a boundary and say, I don't like the way you talk to me. Please don't cuss me out or yell at me because I told you about what vitamins to take so you can be healthy. And even with my mom, like, she gave me the silent treatment for 5 years because she tried to manipulate me. So then my son went to New Jersey. He asked if we could talk. She called me as if nothing ever happened and expected me to be so grateful that she called to grace me with her presence. No, you just got me used to not talking to you. You made it much easier for me. Thank you. I love you. Right? And that's all I can say. I love them, but I have to love them from afar. Because in order for me to heal, I cannot continue to be exposed to the same toxic behaviors, because that's not going to help my healing, right? And it's not easy. You know, you do feel guilty and or ashamed at first, or embarrassed, because people do say, oh, well, you only get one mother. So are you supposed to just allow her to do or say whatever she wants to do because you only get one? I don't think so. They violate or push your boundaries. When I was raising my son, I remember my mom would just take my son and go wherever she wanted to go without telling me where she was going or asking me my permission. And if I said anything, oh girl, shut the fuck up. I ain't nobody gonna do nothing to your motherfucking son, bitch. This is how she would say it to me. And I was 18 when I had my son, and I'm like, but this is my son. I have a right to know where you're taking him. And she wouldn't give him to me. And she would push me away and say, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck away from me. Leave me the fuck alone. This is how she would speak to me about my child. Or if I say, you know, I don't want him to have any sweets because I don't want him to be too hyper, she would sneak and give him a cookie anyway and then laugh. Or sneak and, or say stuff to him like, oh, grandma gonna get you some pussy. Why would you say that to a little kid? That's not funny. It's not cute. That's actually sexual abuse. All of these guys who they say their older brother or their father got them a prostitute or got them to have sex with some teenager or 20-year-old, and they were 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, less than 18 years old. That is sexual abuse. You were abused. You were molested and or raped. There's nothing cute or cool about it. And this is why some men are messed up in the head and they don't realize it, because they were conditioned to think that this is okay and this is appropriate behavior, and it's really not. Whether it was with another male or a female. Just like the movie John Q. Was that John Q? Antoine Fisher, not John Q. Antoine Fisher. That was not cool. They play favorites among you and your siblings. My grandmother jokingly say to me, oh, you know you're my favorite, right? She would say the exact same thing to my sister. Oh, you know you're my favorite, right? And I saw through the foolishness, right? But my sister, she really took that to heart. But again, she played us against each other over the years so that we don't have a relationship right now to this day. She would have me babysit my little sister. I had her so much to the point where people thought she was my daughter. But she didn't have to listen to me. So she grew up not respecting me. Then at one point when she graduated from high school, she came to live with me. And anytime I asked her to do something, she would, oh, I'm calling mommy. I'm telling mommy. What are you talking about? What is she going to do? Beat me? I'm grown. But she was so conditioned. And then my mother would try to call me and cuss me out. And I would say, this is my home. She's not going to do whatever she wants to do in my house. You made it up. Then both of them lied to my whole entire family and said that I wasn't helping her. I wasn't doing anything for her. Where she was not only paying rent, but of course she had to eat. She had a place to stay. I helped her get into school. I helped her get over some of the humps and the hurdles that she went through. But I'm not looking for credit. But they dogged me out to the rest of my family to, again, make it seem like I was the bad person when I'm not. When all I've ever tried to do was help and get her to see the reality of the situation. But she keeps allowing my mom to brainwash and condition her. Expect credit and praise for raising you. Now that's a big one, because that's where some of the guilt and shame comes from. That's what you were supposed to do. You don't get kudos or a reward for doing what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be a good parent, and you weren't even that. Regularly change the topic of discussion toward herself. Again, I gave examples of that already. I want to talk about what's going on at the job and how I feel about that situation. Oh, well, you need your job. Let me tell you what happened when I went to Target today. No empathy, completely dismissing your concerns as if it means absolutely nothing. Put you down to help herself feel better. In the previous video, I mentioned graduating from college. Oh, you're not supposed to say you're smart. You're trying to say I'm stupid. I ain't coming to no graduation. My mother did show up at my grandmother's graduation, but my grandmother didn't. But again, if somebody passed away, she would be quick to buy a plane ticket. When I graduated, she wasn't quick to buy a ticket to come see me graduate. But she wasn't happy for me. She didn't even say congratulations or anything. She didn't send flowers, nothing. I guess it was fine that I graduated from high school and she was still living in the same state at that time. When me graduated from college, it was almost like, how dare you? And then going on to get a master's degree, again, how dare you? She didn't even want to talk about my master's degree. Still doesn't. And a final note from the psychcentral.com website, you didn't deserve any of this unkind treatment. Even if they told you that you did. Even if you were still told that, you're that bitch or you're that mean and evil person. Because I was told that for years. And I said, no, I'm not. You don't know. If you think that, you don't know me. Because people who actually know me actually think some of them think I'm a pushover or that I'm just so kind and so sweet until that side that I was raised with comes out. And that's what people don't realize. I am very kind because I treat people the way that I would want to be treated because I wasn't treated very kindly growing up. And I don't want people to experience that because it's very hurtful. So I do my best to be kind to people. But again, people take advantage of that and they think they can manipulate you and they think you don't see what's going on. But I see and I know because I was raised by those types of people. There's nothing stupid or slow about me. Kindness is not a weakness. It's not naivete or stupidity or foolishness either. So I thank you for listening. I hope that this was helpful. I love y'all from the bottom of my heart. Later.